Shalom Aleichem. Tanya, wide open. We're in chapter 6, but we've been slowly moving forward somewhat. It's Tu Bishvat today, so we'll just mention a word. There's a lot of stuff to speak about for Tu Bishvat, endless things to speak about. We've spoken about this before, but just to show it. The idea of the rimon. What's the difference in the rimon and the grapes? Grapes and rimonim are like the opposite when you think about them. Yeah, like a rimon is, although you get red grapes as well, you're right, but grapes can also be green. But a rimon is a hard shell, yeah, very hard, very hard klipa. It's a very thick shell, and inside you've got endless little, looks like almost singular fruits, yeah, and they hang by themselves individually. Yeah, grapes on the other hand are internally completely one. Cut a grape in half, there's just a oneness inside. Yeah, the klipa is translucent, meaning you can hold. It's one of the only fruits that I know of that's translucent, that you can hold up to the light. You can see the light come through, and they grow in bunches. So the pomegranate grows individually, and internally there's an endless riboy. Yeah, whereas grapes internally they're echad yachad and miyuchad, but they hang together in a riboy of other grapes. Like mamash, and the klipa as well. The klipa of the ribbon is very strong, and the klipa of the grape is very din, very dark. So they're almost like opposite fruits. So the Chazal gave us a definition of Russia in the Haggadah. Chazal don't give many definitions, or when they do, they're usually the definition is about as helpful as the actual word of what the thing they're describing is. Yeah, because Chazal, the klal of Chazal is they always spoke in Moshalim. They never spoke with Hezbil, that very little Hezbil, it was always Moshalim. But they gave a very, very clear definition of a Rasha. Definition of Rasha is a Yotzi Satzma min a klal. Takes himself out of the klal. That is the definition of Rasha. And the fixing for the Rasha is you blunt his teeth. That somehow fixes him. The Yotzi Satzma min a klal means that he has separated himself from the oneness of reality. That is what it means to be a Rasha. Rasha isn't like some kind of demonic, satanic, like guy walking around like, molesting and killing at all. A Rasha, really, the mechanics of a Rasha is a person who is just fragmented internally, which means he would be looking at the world in a fragmented way externally. I just realised this is the perfect Pesach to chapter 6. But so the Russia has got a fragmented internal world. His inner world is all disjointed and fragmented. That's the word, fragmented, yeah? And therefore he sees himself as Yotzi min a klal. Only a person who is whole and one internally, yeah, he sees the world as one. You can't see the world as one if you're not one. You see what you are, basically. That's how the world works. Is what you see the world not as it is. You see the world as how you are. That's just a klal in reality. Everyone knows that. So this Rasha, who took himself out of the klal because he was fragmented. How does that play out practically? So that means that in his life, he has endless avoiders. Yeah, let's say he's a frum Jew. Okay, he's a frum Jew. He's Shomer Torah mitzvahs, but his reality is that of a Rasha, which means he never does a Veira, so he's a Beinoni, that's a big Madrega. Yeah, he's not internally aligned, but he behaves well. Halavai, we should be like that. Yeah. So, how does that play out? A guy who's got a fragmented inner world, it means that he looks at the Torah 613. There's 613 different avoiders, and everything there's endless details and endless avoiders. Yeah, but he doesn't see it like Habakkuk said. Munaso Yichya. Yeah, Habakkuk was oimed the entire Torah al achas, and he said Tzadik Munaso Yichya. The Tzadik stands on his emunah. That's the whole Torah. All 613 mitzvahs. It's not that he reduced it to one mitzvah. He was oimed the whole 613 on one mitzvah, which means Habakkuk was saying this is the real avoider of the Yid, is so to speak to replace the 613 mitzvahs with the Rabbeinu Shloim. Just like the 613 mitzvahs correspond to the 613 limbs, yeah? The 248, they call the Ivre de Malka, the limbs of the king, yeah? The 613 mitzvahs are called the limbs of the king. They're called the limbs of the king. So when you're hugging a person, hopefully you're not hugging the goof. Yeah, the goof is just a way to get to the person. You hug the 613 limbs, but you're not miscovered to the 613 limbs. You're miscovered to the person who's melubush within those limbs. And there's only one person, so it's the same with the mitzvahs. You grab Hashem, so to speak. You hug Hashem, or He hugs you, whatever you want to say, through the 613 mitzvahs. But to the tzaddik, all of those 613 dissolve, and it's just the Rabbeinu Shloim. There isn't tefillin and tzitzis and mezuzah and taras mishpacha and Shabbos and tzedakah and truma and maasros and all the different halachas. Yeah, at this time right now, okay, I have a chiyuv tefillin, so that's Hashem expressing Himself in my life through tefillin. Yeah, right now there's a chiyuv of tzitzis. Right now there's a chiyuv of tzedakah. In different places in my life, all that is just an expression of the Rabbeinu Shalom. That's a man being aligned with one. And then all of the reboy of the world becomes mamash one. He doesn't have 613 mitzvahs. It's interesting because 613, if you add it together, equals Mispar Katan 10, which is really one. So it's a bizarre number, 613. We just don't think it's bizarre because it's 613, but that's a weird number to choose. But the Mispar Katan of 613 is 10, and the Mispar Katan of 10 is 1. And that's the image of Tzadik B'Masor Yichya. That's the Indian of a relationship b'chlal, not just a relationship with Hashem, relationship with our wife as well. Again, if we get into this kind of matzav with our wife, then all of the avoiders of a husband, mortgage and washing up and dealing with the kids and etc., yeah, all of that also just dissolves to your wife. That's exactly the whole Indian of a relationship, is all the details just dissolve to the oneness of the person you're in a relationship with. Yeah?
Is it that the 613 are reduced to 10 also and then to 1? Like the Aseras Dibros?
Sure, 100%. The Rishonim do that at length. The Rishonim, not all, there's a bunch of that abundant it, and a few other Rishonim who linked up the 10, the Aseras Dibros with, they showed how they were branches, and the 613 was branches of the 10. For sure, 100%, and that's the Indian of the Esser Spheres, and the 613. That's the pneumius of the goof, yeah. And then you've got the limbs of the goof. So the 10 is really the Torah. The Torah is the pneumius of the goof. That's the inner level of the goof. So now we understand the Indian of a pomegranate, and I don't want to take away. I'm going to take away from. A pomegranate. We're talking about pomegranate. We said that a pomegranate and a grape are like two opposites. Yeah, the grape it hangs in a bunch, and internally it's one. Whereas the pomegranate hangs individually, and internally it's lots. So I lost my train of thought. Pomegranate.
Translucent said you
It wasn't.
we said the Russia.
Yeah. Wait, I was saying something specific.
Not to reduce the pomegranate.
Internal world, external world.
Okay, fine. Well, I can't. This is exactly what I'm saying. But so. Oh yeah, I don't want to take away from the pshat that we say that Rishon Male Mitzvahs Karimon. Okay, and Pasha Pshat is that just means that the lowest of the Yidden are full of mitzvahs, which is great. And I am going to be taken away from that vort, but I just l'shem avoider. Okay, but that's the Pshat, that's Pasha Pshat, and the mikvah doesn't go out of the Pasha Pshat. So the lowliest of Yidden are full of mitzvahs karimon. Yeah. But what do we learn from that al derech Musa? Why is it malay mitzvahs karimon? Why just say lots of mitzvahs? Because the inyan of a Rasha is that inyan of a fragmented inner world. So he doesn't see the oneness of all the mitzvahs together. But by the Rasha, see, what's the difference in a Rasha and a tzaddik? You boil it down to, you could say a load of things. What's the difference that I'm thinking right now between a Rasha and a tzaddik?
Inclusion and exclusion.
See, basically, the Rasha is more real to himself than Hashem is. The tzaddik, Hashem is more real to him than he is. You can say it in lots of quick ways, but that's one way of saying it. That in the Rasha's world, he is more real than the Rebbeinu Shalom. So it comes to there's a shayla in kashrus, and there's something treif, and he has a taiva to eat it, and he's like, Hashem, I appreciate that you're not going to appreciate this, but we have to take care of number one. Yeah, that's putting myself above Hashem. That means that I am more real to me than Hashem is. Whereas the tzaddik says, I would like to eat that, but so who cares what I want? It's not allowed. That means that the Rebbeinu Shalom is more real to him than he is. Yeah? That's the same with everything we say is the same in the context of our relationship with our wives and our children as well. Yeah, who's more real to you or them? One's real, one's false. You're the false part. So the Rasha, his world, he doesn't have that oneness because he doesn't have the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's not like it's that all the mitzvahs aren't replaced by the oneness. There isn't the relationship there. There isn't the being behind the Ratzon. There's just all these different Ratzonos. So his malay mitzvahs karimon, individual, just like all the what do you call them? The seeds. What do you call them? The little things, little red things. Seeds. All the seeds of the pomegranate inside, which are really the fruit, are all fragmented and not one together. That's the inner world of the Rasha. It's amazing because it's exactly what we're going to say in a minute from the Tanya, where we're holding the Tanya. So the Rasha is a thick klipa, thick red kind of leather klipa, and internally it's all fragmented. Yeah, he's an internally fragmented being, and he hangs by himself because in the world of a real Rasha, he's only real. So your relationship, my connection to you, is dependent on how can you help me? How do you fit in? How do I work you out in context of me? You're going to add something to my life, then I'll be miskar of you. You're going to detract from my life, then I'll push you away. You won't make a difference here or there. Then I'm completely ambivalent. I'm completely ambivalent to you. I have no. You don't exist. I don't care. That's the Rasha. So he hangs by himself. That's a very lonely life, by the way. A very lonely life. Whereas the Anav, which is, I know it's a base and a vav, but the base and the vav are interchangeable by the Heimotzos peh. They're in the same place from the peh. Yeah, so an Anav and an Anav, is kashur to each other. That the Anav is firstly it's see-through, it's translucent. Again, we're going to speak about that. And he hangs in bunches because an Anav gets on with everyone. Why? Because it's not about what can you do for me. It's more like what can I do for you, and therefore we have to hang out in a bunch. Yeah, and internally he's one. You cut him in half, and you just see one fruit. That's the inyan of the Anav, of the tzaddik.
Why again is the tzaddik compared to the Rimon?
No. The Rasha is compared to the Rimon.
The Rimon is
Yeah, this is different. This is al derech Musa. I don't want to take it away from the Pasha Pshat, which is Rishoyim, the lowliest Yidden, the full of mitzvahs. But it's telling you their mitzvahs. Though the din of a Rasha is that his whole inner world is fragmented. There's no cohesive. There's no Shalom. There's no like cohesive oneness there. There's no oneness. It's all it's all piecemeal. It's all bitty. Everything's another thing. Whereas the tzaddik it's like I can imagine being a tzaddik would be like you're not even moving anywhere. Just like nothing's different. There's no there's no difference in life. Like when you boil life down to what it really is, all it is always is a choice between me and him, Yisborach. That's life. Whether you're in the mikveh, or whether you're with your wife, or whether you're in shul, or whether you're behind the computer with your business, whatever it is, it's always the same thing. That's just boiling it down from the graphics. So the tzaddik who's not connected to all he doesn't care about the graphics. It looks like this, it looks like that. What's the difference? So he doesn't even move anywhere. Even though he's walking through the streets and stuff, he's just like a point of consciousness, and just there's a constant flow of me or him, a constant flow of choices between me and him. That's it. And then eventually I'd imagine that the me part starts to dissolve, and then the guy's just in a complete state of oneness with the Rebbeinu. There's nothing, there's no cleave whatsoever. So we could go on. Let me add a little bit. That was also the Indian of Rabbi Meir eating from Acher. It was like the Gemara says he was eating like from a rimon, he was throwing away the klipa. Yeah, that was the Indian. He was like eating up his Torah inside Acher. The Torah was all fragmented and dislocated. That's what happened. So it was like eating, letting go of the klipa. And just as just to add on, I said this morning, but I'll say it quickly again, is that the initial plan Hashem had, he says in Bereshis, was to put out the pri with the eights, and the eights should have the same time as the pri. Yeah, and Rashi says that the ground was meant to do that, and the ground didn't. The ground put out a tree that put out a pri, so he got a klala. Because it was meant to be that the eights was meant to be the same taste as the pri. So there's another pasuk in Devarim that everyone knows that says that the tree, a man is a eitz sadahu. Yeah? Man is a tree. Man is a tree. And then by Noach, we learn, Rashi says, again on the first pasuk in Noach, that the Paris, he calls them the Toldus Toldus and Paris is the same minion. The Toldus of the Mensch is his actions, is his Maisim Toivim. So we have the Mensch, the person is the tree, and the fruit is his actions. So we see by Bereshis, the original way it came out was that the tree and the Mensch, the tree and the Paris was meant to be the same time, the same thing, yeah? But it wasn't. The tree tasted like wood, and the Paris tasted like Paris. So that's the that's the L'chachila, we would want to be completely in line with the Maisim Tovim, yeah? But we're in a B'diavad Matzav. So the B'diavad is that you're right. You are like a piece of wood. Okay? You're not so sweet, yeah? You're not so in line with reality, yeah? But that's a side point. The ikra is that the peiros are good. The peiros taste good. That's the ikra. That's the whole message of the Tanya. That's the whole meaning that internally we're fragmented. Yeah, we don't just want Matzah and Hashem, put it that way. Yeah, we want a whole bunch of stuff. But that's a side point. But the ikra is the avoider. The ikra is the ikra is the maisim tovim. That you have to fix your machshava dibur ma'isa. And now what happens, as we said before, is that is the best way, the most effective way to actually become givoldik, for you to become a tzaddik, is by fixing the maisim. Because you would think that only the maisim of the tzaddik are good, yeah? But we are in control of our behaviour, no matter how that, even it might feel that that's not the case, yeah? But we are always in control of our behaviour. We're always making a cheshbon, like we said over and over. No matter how strong the taiva is, a guy jumps out of the closet and offers you $100,000, poof, gone, like that, no timer. Thank you, I have $100,000, and you'll walk away. That timer's gone legamre. So when the timer's there and it's like unfathomable, you could never imagine overcoming it, you should know that you're making a cheshbon right now. Unless you're genuinely sick, which is very, very rare, but it is possible. Unless you're genuinely sick, then you're always making a conscious decision. No matter how impulsive it feels or how impossible it feels to overcome it, you're always making a decision. So, lemaisa, that's called mo'eshelet alalev. Your mind is always in control of your heart, and that means that we are in control of our behavior, and the surest, most effective way of becoming givaldic is through your meisim. That is the most available tool we have, is through the meisim. So how do we fix the meisim? 4 words, the beginning of all of Oida, the beginning of our entire lives. 4 words. Making and keeping promises. That is the beginning of life. Those are like the 4 most important words I know together in English. Making and keeping promises, because that's the beginning of the tikkun of the meisim tovim. And you can't start working on the inner world. You can't go directly to the inner world. You have to go through the meisim tovim. You're showing it over your actions. You can't just go on into the inner world, because the meisim will pull you away. If a person's meditating on Gadlus Hashem, and he's caught up in all kinds of disgusting, filthy things, it's just like putting water into a bucket with a massive hole in the bottom. So first things first is we attack, so to speak, our meisim. We get a hold of our meisim, which means machshava dibur meisim, including machshava, and that leads back in. And that's what we learn from Bereshis with this idea of the eights. Although the eights didn't have any tam, the goal is that the eight should have tam, but the priest still has tam. So like we said over and over, is your meisim tovim can be just as sweet as Moshe's meisim tovim. You can put a mezuzah up on your doorpost in the exact same way as Moshe Rabbeinu could put a mezuzah up on his doorpost. The meiser that he does can't be any more than the meiser that you do. His kavanas, that's a whole different world. But in regards to the actual pa'ula of just putting on tefillin, as long as you've learned that they need to be over here, you've got the right to fill in, and you do the mitzvah, that's just binary. You did the mitzvah, yes or no. There's just yes or no. And that's the same with Moshe as well. That's the inyan of meisim tovim. It's mamash binary. It takes us back to what we always get to. That's a big breath of fresh air. Okay, so with that said, we're going to jump into Tanya. Any questions? No?
I wanted to say, what does it mean, the fruits that have free will to become, to be eights osed pri, that they have the taste of the pri, meaning Hashem told the trees to do a certain thing, and they came out different.
It was the ground. The ground was the guilty party.
So the ground is the culprit. So did the ground have free will, like Bechira?
It got a klala.
Well, you
a
said
question.
Bechira Chavshus isn't when you do something wrong.
Yeah, Bechira Chavshus is Bechira. There was the whole. We spoke about that with by Kriyas Yamsuf. Chazal say that the Yamsuf had Bechira. And that's the whole message of Bechira Chavshus is when the Yam split. So we spent a whole hour and a bit speaking about that last week. But the idea of Bechira Chavshus, real Bechira, not the idea of making a cheshbon, but real Bechira is just when who you are. You see it when who you truly are, meaning the neshama, trumps and just kind of smashes through who you're not, which is what we were connected to before. So in that sense, the ground had a nature, and the sea had a nature as well. And when Hashem goes through that, that's called Behir Hofshis. In this sense, it didn't use its Behir Hofshis, meaning it didn't do Ratzon Hashem, and then therefore it got a klala. That was the. I never thought of it like
But
that.
it got fruits also somehow.
It what?
Somehow it produced fruits.
Yeah, it did. It got fruits.
And those are the main things. It's saying even though it sinned, it's having fruit. It has fruits, and that's what it should focus on.
Focus on what you want. Yeah, that was the Ma'aseh is that the ground didn't do exactly what he was asked to do, and Hashem gave him a klala. That was the Ma'aseh, but the fruit still remained sweet, but the eights didn't remain sweet. One of the inyanim of that is really the idea of klipa being a means to an end. Yeah, which is the main idea of klipa. The main idea of klipa is that you don't want it for itself. Yeah, you take the fruit, the klipa, the fruit, you throw it away. It's a means to an end, and it's a cover. We've said this before. I'm sure we have, but this is important. Why is klipa called a cover? Yeah, it means a cover, like a husk, and it's also a means to an end. What's the connection between a means to an end and a cover? Is that whenever you're doing something that is not an end unto itself, it's a means to an end, you are being covered over. When you're in the car driving to Meron, yeah, the end is Meron, yeah. The drive up the number 6 is a means to an end. When I see you standing there by Kever Rashbi davening, yeah, I get a little feeling for who you are. But when I'm watching you driving up the number 6 with everybody else, I have no idea who you are. Just know you've got a car, you're going somewhere, that's it. And it could actually be I get the wrong message because maybe you hate driving. You absolutely hate driving. So I look at you in the car thinking, well, he obviously likes to drive. But in truth, you actually hate driving. You're just doing it to get somewhere else. That's why means to an end covers over. That's why klipa means so that was an Indian of the fruit and the eights as well. Is the eights is a means to an end, and the fruit is the end, and the fruit is sweet, and the tree is tasteless. Huh? It's just, yeah, it's wood. It's just nothing. Exactly.
They talk about in brachos, like the brachos you make on different fruits.
And the kafrisin and the slaf and the whole thing, yeah.
Right, so some of them is like they do have secondary fruit.
Yeah, and it's also relative. That's a very good point. Means to an end are very relative, meaning that although something is an end, comparatively, you do like you set your alarm clock. Yeah, setting your alarm clock is a means to an end. Waking up is the end, but waking up isn't an end. Yeah. If waking up is the end, you're in a bad shape. Yeah, what's the end? The end is getting out of bed. You wake up to get out of bed. You don't really get out of bed for a purpose. That's not an end. Yeah, but it's like, only until you're davening shachris. Yeah, then you got to an end. Every mitzvah is an end unto itself. If you're a tzaddik, even getting out of bed, that you're with moed aniyim, all those are ends. But it's all relative as well. Ends and means to ends is always relative. Okay. With that said, we had a really good hakdama into chapter 6 because we haven't really started chapter 6 yet. So in chapter 6 in the Tanya, he begins. This is the chapter where we discuss the nefesh of Bahamis. Yeah, chapter 1 we introduce the nefesh of Bahamis, and we basically subtly explained how he's very fearful of death because he's mortal. And he's very aware of the fact that he's not going to be around forever. So that is like compulsing him. Is that the right word? Whatever. That's compulsing him. That causes his behaviour in every motivates. Yeah, it's motivating his actions. The fact that he's fearful of death. Everything he's trying to do is to end that. It's interesting. Rav Manis explained what about this. The destructive behaviour that the nefesh of Bahamis wreaks on us sometimes. Sometimes his pasha destroys us. We do things that mamash destroy us. Yeah, you see people with addictions to alcohol, gambling, whatever drugs, whatever kinds of things they're addicted to. Yeah, they're killing themselves. So how does that tie in with the survival mechanism? If the nefesh of Bahamis is trying to survive, why is it drinking that guy to death? Because it's definitely not the neshama that's causing him to drink. Yeah, it's the nefesh of Bahamis that's drinking. So this is what Vanis said. It's a moedic way. You hear the question, yeah? Question is, you got the question. Rav Man has explained, it's like if someone comes to hit a person with a machete, to protect your head, the person, to protect his head, he'll raise his arm, even though he'll lose his arm, to protect his head. That's what that's amazing Russian. That's what the destructive behaviour of the Nefesh Bahamis is. And that's what Rav Shais Taub said this. He has a beautiful book called The God of Our Understanding. Seen that book? Beautiful. A book on the 12 steps and like alcoholism and from a Torah perspective. It's really a beautiful book. I recommend it highly. And the biggest takeaway from that is that the addiction isn't the problem. The addiction is the solution to the problem. There's a deeper existential problem, philosophical problem, whatever you want to call it, and the way this person is medicating it is through this addiction. So that's the same idea as to protect his head, he'll raise up his arm and lose an arm. That's the same idea why our Nefesh Bahamis can become thoroughly destructive. So anyway, the first chapter was discussing the real, so to speak, the essence, but he said it kind of in a roundabout way, but the essence of the Nefesh Bahamis. Then the Rebbe shifts gear over to the Nefesh Elokis, and he introduces us to the Nefesh Elokis, where he comes from, what his whole thing is. Then in chapter 3 starts talking about how he breaks down the mechanics of the Nefesh Elokis. And chapter 4 goes weiter as well with mitzvahs. Chapter 5 is about Torah. Now the Rebbe turns back to the Nefesh Bahamis, and we start to discuss the Nefesh Bahamis. So he uses an interesting lashon here, yeah? When he's talking about the actual the inner workings of the Nefesh Bahamis. Everyone knows about the 10 spheres, yeah? The 10 spheres all work in an interdependent system, meaning you can't take one sphere out of the spheres. They are a organic whole, and they all work with each other. Yeah, they're completely interdependent. That's the word, completely interdependent. So that structure, which is the Nefesh Bahamis, which is the Nefesh Akis, which is Chochma Bina Das or Kesa Chochma Bina, however you want to break it down. Das and Kesa are mutually exclusive, whatever. But then you have the 7 Midas, Chesed, Gvur, Tferes, Netzach, Yisod, and Malchus. Yeah, that's 10. So that's the kind of the map of the Nefesh Elokis. That's the diagram, so to speak, of the Nefesh Elokis. Zelu Mazeh, that's also what the Nefesh Bahamis looks like. It's also got Chochma Bina Das, yeah. If it's got Kes or whatever, you can argue about that. Chochma Bina Das, and then it has Chesed, Gvur, Tferes, Netzach, Yisod, and Malchus as well. What's the difference? He says it again. This is just a really nice way of seeing how the Tanya works. When he was explaining the Nefesh Elokis, he talked about the Esser Spheres Kedoshos, yeah, the Esser Spheres Kedoshos. When he introduces the mechanics of the animal soul, he calls it the Esser Kisn de Masavusa, the 10 crowns of impurity, as opposed to the 10 holy spheres.
Impure.
The 10 crowns of impurity. Crowns, but this is the key word, crowns. And it's exactly what we were talking about before. Why? Because a crown, it's only been very recently there were things like NATO and all this, and you can argue how unified they are anyway. But the concept of a malchus, which is represented by a crown, is a independent state that will work with another state if there's a benefit, or will fight against another state if there's no benefit, or whatever it is. But it's an independent. There is no concept of teamwork between countries, as Trump is showing the whole world right now. It's like, let's get back to reality. Let's get back to the Nefesh Bahamis. Who are we to be helping out? Let's make America great again. Yeah, that's really the way the Nefesh Bahamis works. That's not a bad thing. That's just how it works. It's maybe even a better thing in some ways. It's more real anyway. And if you're coming from that place and you're pretending to be with each other, yeah, then it's just really pretending, because the Nefesh Bahamis doesn't really have the ability to get on with others. basically. So that's the union of a malchus, of a kingship, is that it's completely independent. So the 10 crowns of impurity, the workings of the Nefesh Bahamis, are exactly what we just said about the Rimon. It's 10 independent powers, meaning that the inner world of the Rasha is fragmented. The inner world of the Tzaddik is a cohesive unity, and the inner world of the Tzaddik is fragmented. And by the way, we did mention, this is the reason why in the Haggadah it says that the response to the Rasha is you should blunt his teeth. Yeah? What's the Indian? Obviously it's talking about the front teeth. What are they called? Not incisors. Yeah, the incisors. Yeah, these are the canines. The incisors. These are the incisors. Yeah, they're the ones that cut. Then you've got the molars that are the ones that grind. Yeah? So it says blunt the teeth. Obviously it's talking about the incisors because the molars are anyway blunt. Yeah? What was the problem? Is because he was a Rasha and his inner world is all like fragmented and piecemeal. Yeah? How does he look at the world? As we said, you see the world as you are. You don't see the world how it is. You see the world as you are. So he's all fragmented, so how does he see the world? He sees the world as endless fragments. Just like the incisors cut the food into small pieces. They cut the food into small pieces. The molars then grind it down into a unity. Yeah? That's toichin. They grind it down into a unity. But the incisors cut it into pieces. So what's the eitzah to the Rasha? Or the eitzah to the guy dealing with the Rasha? Is blunt his teeth. Stop cutting the world down into pieces. Smush it into a singular whole, into a paste, into a oneness. Then you've got a chance to come back to reality. What do we say to the tzaddik in Kriya Shema? Vishinantam levanecha v'dibata bam. What does Rashi say? Vishinantam. They should be sharp, like your teeth. Sharpen them like teeth. Once you're connected to the Echad, to reality, to Hashem, Shema Yisrael Hashem Echad, now the avoider is dafka to break down the world into its teeny pieces and see the Rebbeinu Shalom in every single prat. That's the avoider of the tzaddik.
That's you can say the Rimon is also for the tzaddik as well, according to that Pshat.
Okay, afterwards, after like the second stage. Very good. So that's the inner world. The inner world of the tzaddik is a oneness. The inner world of the Rasha, like we're saying here, is fragmented, and therefore he sees the world as this endless, fragmented, disjointed place where nothing makes sense.
So it seems like even the spheros can't really work together.
The spheres do work together.
I know, but if they're each an individual crown...
No, that's in the Nefesh Bahamis.
Right.
That's Mitzad Klipa. Mitzad Kedusha, another way of describing Klipa and Kedusha is teamwork and the opposite. Individual.
So that's the same thing in Nefesh Bahamis. If the spheres have to work together, how do they work together?
The mechanics of the Nefesh Bahamis don't allow for that. The mechanics of the Nefesh Bahamis work in a fragmented way. All you can do is train the Nefesh Bahamis using intellect and a few other methods available to become, to make the right cheshbon. It will always boil down to some kind of understanding, meaning
self-interested.
Basically, but it wouldn't appear like that. And it's not a low thing; it's a very high thing. If a man, like it says in the Mishnah, the din of an Amma Aretz, is what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine. You remember the Mishnah? No, Midas Adoim is what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. That's a Yesh Omer Midas. But the Amma Aretz, it says, is what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine. What?
Everything's mine. Communism.
No, that's a Rasha. A Rasha says, what's mine is mine, what's yours is mine. A Chassid says, what's mine is yours, what's yours is yours. Yeah, a Beinoni says, what's mine is mine, is what's yours is yours. And that's also Yeshom and Midas Adom. But the Amma Aretz says, what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine. It's like, that sounds like he's just an idiot, yeah? That's not what it means.
Communism.
What?
It's communism.
So it could be the Indian is, and Amma Aretz means that for Yeshiva Oilam, that the world should have a kiyum, you have to look at reality like that. What's yours is mine, what's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine. Doesn't mean I'm going to come and steal things from you. It's just that's how we need to run a community. We have to like
We all chip in.
Huh?
We all chip in to each other.
Yeah, exactly. We're here for each other. That's called an Am Haaretz. It's not a negative thing. That's the Umas Ha'olam. That's why they're called the Umas Ha'olam, because they have a chiyuv of Yishuv Haaretz, of Yishuv Ha'olam, I should say, of Yishuv Ha'olam, meaning they need to create a world. So that's the best option. What's mine is yours. What's yours is yours. That's not possible. But a very high madrega is what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine. So I'll give you freely, and I'm assuming that you're going to give me back. Like that's a very nice way of living. That'd be a lovely community to live amongst, no? As long as you've got locks on your
In a
doors.
perfect world.
What?
In a perfect world where
That would basically be a
no
perfect
corruption,
world.
right?
That would be a perfect world. I mean, the perfect world would be what's mine is yours, and what's yours is yours. That's the world that the Yidden are meant to live in. We can actually live in that world, but according to how I understand it, the world at large couldn't live on that couldn't live on that level.
It's hard to have boundaries when you say what's mine is yours and yours is mine.
Yeah, there could definitely be problems with that.
Any
But
hippie knows that.
that's why I said that there should be good locks on the doors. But the point is that the inner world. This is so important. Is that the inner world needs to be singular, and you see this actually in the parsha because it says v'yached Yisroi. What's the lashon? V'yichad Yisroi. V'yichad v'yismach. Rashi says that he was happy, yeah. But there was the before that. He says like goose flesh he had, yeah, like goosebumps, which is interesting because the word chad is lashon chad, echad. It's lashon unity, which is simcha. But then and simcha is one. But then he talks about endless bumps on the skin, goosebumps. You can't get more like riboy than goosebumps, yeah. But that's the inyan of the tzaddik. Again, is if you have an internal unity, you can have goosebumps on the skin, like endless bumps and whatever, yeah. It doesn't make a difference. That's just the skin. That's like the tzaddik dealing with all the things of this world, but it's all just one. It doesn't matter whether he's in the bank or whether he's in the mikveh. It's all just one thing. That's Maramis in that idea by Yisrael.
Me'amod says V'yichad, he took a cherev chada and he did bris milah.
Oh yeah? I never heard that. Wow.
The tzaddik eats the rimon, he's taking the fragments and making it into one.
He's what?
He's eating the fragments of the rimon and then making it into one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the avoid of the tzaddik.
Wasn't Acher a mayor though?
Acher is the Rebbe.
No, Acher is the
Acher
Rebbe.
is the Rebbe.
Yeah.
Acherim.
The Gemara says Acher, that's what it means.
That's right.
So many things to say.
Can you explain how the Nefesh Bahamas has 10 spheres?
Doesn't have 10 spheres, that's the point.
What's the Russian?
10 Kisrin de Masavusa.
So not sphere, it's just the keter, just the crown.
No. It runs in a system of 10. It has a system of 10. Everything has a system of 10. Everything. That's the Yud Kei Vav Kei. That exists everywhere and in everything. And there's always the inyan of Ratzon and then Midas. Ratzon and then Seichel and then Midas. That's the inyan of the inner workings. And then the Levushim, which is behavior, that goes on the outside. But everything is divided into 10.
Is it referring to like the makeup of the body? Pasach Al-Yo, when it says the trade shuriken, that's like the feet.
It would be it's represented in the body. Remember, the body, the form of the man, Dafka, the form of the human man, the form of a human being, is the most accurate map for reality you could ever. We are a representation of reality. Every human, every man, the beard, the hair, the payas, the ava, the tibur, the chazah, the legs, the feet, the toenails.
What about the tibur?
Everything. That is the map of all of creation. So you could a real makubal, as he's walking around the street and he's looking at people, he's just doing chazara over everything that he's ever learned. It's all in the form of the man, everything. So everything. So this world is just always a representation. So the Avadai, the 10 represent the legs and the arms and the ava and the torso and the head, etc. Okay, so that's the. I'm going to say something else about it. It's on topic, off topic. It's something that I learned this week. It's very beautiful. Is everyone knows that there's a heta in Hilchos Shabbos of derech achila. You know that? It's weird because if you were to ask me, is it mutter to eat on Shabbos, and you just explain to me all the malachas, I would say, well, maybe you could like swallow it whole, but toichen. This is the very definition of toichen. If I was to create a humanoid head with teeth that went like that, and put in an apple and had it crunch it down, I'd be over. This is the rice of toichen. Yeah. Maybe not with an apple, but whatever. If it like with wheat or something, whatever it is, that you would be over on an issue of toichen, yeah. So what's the what? What's the heta of derech achila? Why is that? I mean, it's a known thing in halachas. You're like, oh, that's derech achila. But why is it that derech achila is matter that ferish a malacha? You hear the question?
You have to eat.
You have to eat. Say that. Well, not for that. You could because nefesh, but you're not going to die if you don't eat for a day.
It's the greatest sparks. Eating is what Shabbos is all about.
I'll fast on Shabbos.
Yeah, absolutely.
So argue that
it must be that
the
it's
making
much.
of the bread itself in the first place was derech achila also, because you're making the bread so that you could eat it. So what's the difference between
So
grinding up the wheat and grinding it with your teeth later when it's a fully formed?
How many stages away, right?
Yeah. It's
okay,
just,
well,
it's
that
different,
aim toichen acha toichen. So
stage
you
of the
could,
process.
but I'm saying if you got the wheat kernels and you're like crunching them up in your mouth,
That's why I said almonds, because people do it. But almonds, people make almond flour.
that would be okay. Yeah, that would be. So it's mutter. It's 100%
I
mutter.
think that's more common. To eat
Say that
almonds.
either way.
Right,
It's 100% mutter. Yeah, 100% mutter. No questions. Derech achila is mutter. What's the Indian? So alpi chassidus or Kabbalah, you can say like this: that there's the Indian of kalim and oirus. Yeah. And there's different kinds of kalim, as we're going to speak about in a minute. Different kinds of kalim. Yeah, there's really... Huh?
Kalim Shainim.
Yeah. There's really 3 kinds of kalim. There's transparent kalim, translucent kalim, and opaque kalim. Yeah, those are the 3 options. Yeah, you have this is opaque. Yeah, this cup you can't see, you don't know what's inside it. Then whatever, that's a transparent. And that maybe you could say that's translucent. Yeah, that you could say, although it's really whatever, it's a chad-pami cup which you can't see through. Yeah, that's translucent. So those are the 3 kinds of kalim.
Reflective.
You could get that's a different. You could get into a different. That would be a whole different bechila to talk about reflective and absorbent.
Water
That would
is
be different.
Well, that's opaque.
Yeah, if it's reflective, you can't see through it, then it's opaque.
Well, that's a whole.
Water is
That would make
reflective
things very complicated. But there'll be a whole different way of understanding it using that Lashonis.
Sorry.
Transparent, opaque, and
Transparent, translucent, and opaque. Translucent is like halavi glass, like milky glass, yeah, where you can see that you can see it's daytime outside, but you don't see any form. And there's madrigas and madrigas to that. Yeah? Opaque is like a brick wall where you can't see anything. But what's the Indian of transparent kalim? That's the Indian of Tzias. That's called kedusha. The other 2 kalim are called klipa. Yeah, klipa's no, klipa's tomatoes, whatever. But that's klipa. Where you look at the window is like a frosted window, and the window might allude to something outside, but the window at the same time is pointing at himself, saying, look at me guys, I'm a manda amma. Whereas a transparent kli, or window, a very clean window, takes none of your attention whatsoever. You just look straight through, you just see straight through.
You said it's like the Kalmatzki, you said the Baal Shem Tov is when you don't have any space.
Tov is another way for saying this. He was Baal Shem Tov. Yeah, I only say one thing. Remember that. I only ever say one thing. The more you understand, the more you learn what I say, the more you'll realise that I just keep saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. I hope so anyway. So something that's kadosh is It's a creation. Kedusha is a creation. It has gvulim, but it doesn't allude to itself in any way. So it's a transparent kli. Yeah? So it's not like it's just God. It's not the Indian of a kli kadosh is that it's a kli, but it's transparent, and Hashem can then feel comfortable in it because He expresses Himself through it. Yeah. So now,
so it says that's our avoda, is to ultimately be a transparent kli.
absolutely, yes, 100%. Yeah. So now, let's plug this in. Yeah. Shabbos is refraining from means to ends. All the malachas are a means to an end, yeah? You plow so you can plant. You plant so you can sow. You sow so you can gather. You gather so you can crush. You crush so you can do boil. Whatever, there's 11 madregas, and you finish off with oifer, you bake it. So the concept of a malacha, which is also the Indian of a malach is a means to an end. He's a messenger. Yeah, it's the same Indian. A malacha is a means to an end. That's what we stop from on Shabbos. Shabbos is ending with means to ends. Kol malachta asuya. There's no more means to ends. What are we mischaber to? The only thing that isn't a means to an end. The only thing that is not a means to an end is
the end itself,
which is called. Everything that you do is for what purpose? B'ezrat Hashem. But let's say you're lower side.
Yourself.
A regular guy outside, pleasure. The only thing that we have that is an end unto itself is pleasure or avoidance of pain, same thing. Oyneg is an end. So that's why Shabbos is oyneg. Because Shabbos is tachlis ha-shamayim v'aretz. Shabbos is being mechaber yourself to tachlis, which is oyneg. So that's why we have oyneg Shabbos. And that's why we desist from malacha, which is means to an end. Yeah? You with me? So that's klipa. So we let go of klipa, and we get mechaber to tachlis. Tachlis ha-shamayim v'aretz. That's oyneg, that's Shabbos. So now, derech achila, yeah? You want the pleasure from the food, yeah? Let's say you're ploughing the field, and someone comes to you and says, would you like me to do that for you? You're like, yeah, thank you. Meaning that you don't have to plough the field to eat the bread. You can farm that off, pardon the pun, you can farm that off to somebody else, yeah? I like that. You could farm that task off to somebody else. But what about the eating? You can't say, I want the pleasure of the food, but I don't want to eat it. Although, like, conceptually, you don't really want to eat the food. You want the pleasure from the food, but you can't separate the two. You hear what I'm saying? It's like it's a mind, it bends your mind when you think about it. There's the pleasure from the food, and then there's the actual act of eating. But they're not separate. They're absolutely enmeshed with each other. They can't be separated. You can't have the pleasure of the food without the eating. It would be the same with Inyane Nashim, if you can understand the idea. Without the actual action and the pleasure, you can't have the pleasure without the actual avoider of that Maisa. Yeah? That's the Inyan of Kalim Shkufim. That's the Inyan of transparent Kalim. That's why Derech Achilu is mutter. Because there is no way of separating the actual eating from the pleasure. So it's tachlis. Even though it looks like it's an avoider, like it's a malacha, because it's merged so thoroughly with the tachlis, that's called a transparent kli. That's kaddish.
Why transparent? Because you can see.
So essentially, the
because you can't. They're not separable. You can't have the pleasure without the kli. You can't have the pleasure without the eating, without the actual avoider of the eating. So that's why that's al pi panimius, why derech achila is mutter, because it looks like a malacha, but it and the pleasure are so bound up with each other, they're unseparable. Then you can't separate one from the other. So that's called kalim shakufim. That's the inyan of transparent kalim. With me? So that's a great segue into this. Is that the nefesh habahamis comes from Klipus Noiga. Our Nefesh Bahamis comes from Klipus Noiga. Yeah? Everyone's heard these terms, Klipus Noiga and Klipus Timaeus? Anyone can articulate the difference?
Klipas Noiga can either be good or bad. Klipas Timaeus is only bad.
Fine. What does that mean? Like Lemaisa though? What's the difference technically? That's how it plays out. You can because Klipus Noiga is X, you can elevate it. But because Klipus Timaeus is Y, you can't elevate it. Fill in the X and the Y.
X is Rishus and Y is Aveira.
That's the same thing again. Because it's X means that it's an Aveira. Because it's Y means it's Mutter. What's the X and the Y? Huh?
That it's Rishus, that it can go either way because of.
But that's again defining that's defining the qualities of it, not
It's
the mechanics.
It's a type of that's usher.
It's tied down.
Something that's usher, and then we have it's mutter. Something that's allowed.
Mutter
You're allowed
means
to do.
untied.
Not necessarily you should do it, but you're allowed to.
So this is again describing like the nature of it, like what happens because of the Metzias of it. What's the Metzias of it? The Metzias of it is that, the way I understand it, is that Klipus Noiga is translucent, Klipus Timaeus is opaque. Meaning Klipus... What?
Pas nicht.
Why? What do you
Don't
mean?
touch it.
Oh, you get them to say
Don't
that.
touch it.
But Klipus Timaeus means there is no hint to... It's completely self-involved. Like the wall, the moshel of the wall is opaque. That's like Klipus Timaeus. Not the walls of Klipus Timaeus, but that's the moshel. Yeah, there's because it's so dense, it doesn't allude to anything other than itself. That's what Paro said. Paro said, "Aniva afsi oid." There's just me. That's Klipus Timaeus, completely self-absorbed. Nothing else exists. Huh?
Ani v'afsi od, Gematria Ilan Mas.
Really? Elon, that's his day today. Yeah, it should be gebenched.
Shoshana Elon.
So the Indian, the nefesh and the Klipus Timaeus is unable to appreciate the reality of anything else naturally unable to appreciate that anything else exists unto itself. The Klipus Timaeus looks at the whole world and says, how do you exist in context of me? How can you help me? How can you add to my reality? Or if you're going to detract from my reality, I need to get rid of you, whatever. Klipus Noiga, on the other hand, appreciates the reality of another naturally. It's translucent. So although it doesn't show you exactly what's going on, it doesn't completely allude to the other, it somewhat alludes to the other. And there's madrigas as well. There's madrigas. It's like when you pixelate a picture on the computer. Yeah, you can pixelate it so it's thoroughly unrecognizable, or you can pixelate it so you don't see the details. That's Klipus Noiga. It's a massive spectrum, a huge spectrum. Yeah?
Why are they called Kalim? In your mush, you said
Kalim?
You said it's 3 types of Kalim. Why would Klipas Noiga be a Kalim?
That's a great question. It is, by definition, it is a Kli. Why?
Klipo.
That's what it means. It covers over. It's the point of the klipa is that it conceals the kedusha that gives it kiyum. This is an interesting point. This is like a more of a side point, more of an advanced idea. But the Klipus Noiga, what that's actually referring to, I understood it from speaking to Rav Haas and the way Rav Haas explains it, and the way it's written in the Kisvei Ariyah, LP the Pshat, is that the kedusha that you're releasing from Klipus Noiga, you're saying you can lift up Klipus Noiga. You're saying you can elevate Klipus Noiga. Yeah. I don't know if you actually elevate the Klipa. What actually happens, I understand it. I'm not absolutely sure. I'm not completely clear on this. I'm getting there. But the way I understood it is that the reason why it's Klipus Noiga and not Klipus Timaeus is that there is kedusha actually mu'urav in the ovi of the klipa. Not just the pashat pshat is that you've got the kedusha inside the kli, yeah, But what we're really talking about, Klipas Noga, is that there's Kedusha in the actual Klipa. Not inside the halal of the keli, but in the avi, in the actual koislei kli. Yeah, that's where the ore went into, and therefore the actual klipa is.
Because the klipas tameas.
There's Madrigas before that as well. We're sure by the Shvira, but even before that, there's other things going on. What?
Klipas tameas is like inside the clay. It's not that it doesn't have it inside the clay.
No, so this
can't be the definition that the klipas tameas is like inside the halal. I'm saying like you. You're saying it's not that there's light inside the halal.
Because there's by the because that's the same
light
like
inside the
exactly.
halal.
That's the point. That's the point.
In terms of fruits, there are fruits that the klipa, you can't eat the outside of a watermelon, but like you can eat the outside of a grape, the little klipa.
Yeah.
Even the fibers living in an apple. Or
There's Madrigas and Madrigas. Yeah.
So like those are so that there are fruits that you can't eat the outside of the klipas. Tameas, kibiyachal, and the fruits you can eat it with the outside is klipas noga. The inside is always going to be.
You want to hear a real trippy thing that you just said? Why was it that Rashbi was eating churuvim in the cave? What's the meaning of a churuv? A churuv is the thickest husk, but that's the fruit. But it's the fruit itself, and it's the sweetest of all the fruits. That was Rashbi. That's the avodah of Rashbi. That was the avodah of Rashbi. That he was so. That's the avodah of Pnimis HaTorah. The avodah of Pnimis HaTorah is that the actual klipa itself becomes mamash the most matok thing there is. That's the Indian of the chuvim. That's what you were saying. But the pasha pshat is like you were saying. The pasha pshat is that there's thick klipas like orange and watermelon, and then there's like the grape, which is that's the archetype of klipas noga. Huh?
Peppers. Peppers is a klipa that you eat.
No, it's not. Like my wife peels peppers on Pesach. Like you peel, like they have, it's like it's like it's like you can't peel it.
When you cook it, after you cook it,
it slimes up, doesn't it? Yeah.
I was thinking of jalapeno peppers.
Also,
so I think it's the same idea as well.
same thing. After you cook them, there's a peel. You pull it right off.
So, where are we going? We're another few minutes. I don't know if you guys still got koyach, yeah? Still got koyach? Okay.
Still,
Even in
that's
an
what we
egg.
had before.
Even an egg, it has a hard shell, but even between the actual pnimis and the klipa, there's actually a membrane which is like translucent, which is interesting.
Yeah, there's loads of it's very complex. It gets really because all of these things are mushalim for the reality. And if you just open up Kisvei Ari for a few hours, you'll see that this just goes on and on and on. And when you think he's just gone through a whole thing, and you've like, wow. And then he like chooses a teeny weeny little bit of this whole thing you broke your head over understanding. And this teeny little bit, he just goes, explodes that open. And now you're dealing with this huge complex issue in this teeny little fragment of this bigger thing. And it just goes on and on and on and on. That's how it is. It's so complex. It's as complex as the goof. The reason why the goof is so complex is because reality is that complex. It's not like there's no difference. Mamash, absolutely no difference. So now, this is a really important idea, yeah. And this is, if you can get this clear, it's not so difficult. It's conceptual. It's very conceptual, but it's very important to get this clear, yeah. Is we can understand that, for example, a chazir, yeah, is a thing that gets its life force from klipas tameas. Yeah, it's a thing. It's running around on the floor. Yeah, it gets its life force from somewhere. So it gets its life force from klipas tameas. You can also understand that this chair, which is klipas noiga, it's a thing. It's a thing. It's getting its life force from somewhere. There's something holding its molecules and atoms together, whatever it is. Yeah, you can conceptualize that. Yeah. And you can also understand that a Sefer Torah as well, something that's kadosh, lahavdil, has also got some kind of life force causing it to be. If you get this clear, what I'm about to say, this will open up. This is a whole bunch of keys to understanding so much in Pnimis HaTorah, so much, especially in Sefer Tanya and Chassidus in general. Yeah, thought, speech, and action, behavior are looked upon in the exact same way as a chazir, as a chair, and as a Sefer Torah. They are things. They have a beginning, they they have an end, they exist in time. They are not looked upon as something different. Your maisim are like chairs. They could be treif chairs, they could be power of chairs, and they could be holy chairs. You have to look at them like that, which means that your machshav dibur ma'isa is being yonek from somewhere, just like the chazir is being yonek from somewhere, so too the chair is being yonek from somewhere, and lahavdil, so too the sefer Torah is being yonek from somewhere. When you're doing something that is a mitzvah, lishma, and maybe from not lishma as well, but not mamash, no, not lo lishma. But when you're doing a mitzvah, then that thing that you're doing, it has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. It exists in a time-space coordinate. You with me? Even though it's not like a cup. It's not like a table. But it is conceptually. Like you want to do mitzvahs to fill in. It begins when you pull the strap tight, and then when you take them off, it finishes. That's just like this chair begins here and it ends here. It's the same thing. So that being, that thing, is being yonik from somewhere. So all of our, it's clear, it's very conceptual, it's not so difficult, So all of our behavior, all of our machshava dibur ma'isa, machshava as well, and dibur ma'isa, is channeling its energy from someplace. Just like you can understand that a physical thing channels its energy from someplace. So a mitzvah is channeling its energy al derech kedusha. The tzino that it comes down through is kadosh, and it lands in a kadosh thing. Because when you watch somebody doing the halacha by the Tanya, by the way, is that if you see somebody doing a mitzvah, you have a chiyuv to stand. Oh, by the way, pigul, it's a machlokus tanoim, or whether it's zman or makom, and halacha l'mais is it's zman, but we're choishish for makom as well. So just wanted to, I looked that up. So that was from last week. Sorry. Appreciate it. I got reminded to say that. The sinor that when you're doing a mitzvah, the Balatanya says that the halacha is when you see someone doing a mitzvah, you have to stand up for them. Because you're not seeing what is it, a mitzvah? You're not seeing a guy like eating crackers on Pesach. You're seeing a revelation of the Rabbanu Shalom. That's a Gilu of Ratzon Hashem. Like we said before, that's like a portal opening. Dr. Strange, we said that. It's like a portal opening, and the Rabbanu Shalom just becomes completely visible, to the Einei HaSeichel. If you're not looking at the graphics. If you're looking at the graphics, you're seeing some guy sitting funny, like crunching matzah, just waiting for it to be finished. But if you're a tzaddik and you're looking at it with the Einei HaSeichel, all you see is Elokus. It's a Yid, It's Pesach, Leil Pesach, It's matzah, it's kosher matzah, Givaldik, mitzvah, Hashem. So that's why an act of mitzvah is kadosh. It's completely transparent to the Creator whose mitzvah it is. They're His mitzvahs. Rishus means it's translucent, meaning you're going for a game of pool, in a kosher place. Is that asa? It's a kosher place. It's not Shabbos. It's Motzi Shabbos. No, you don't know. Could it be? It could be actually really halig. It could be you had a hard Shabbos, the kids were driving you nuts, it was really difficult, and you got out with a couple of friends to shoot some pool, to relax and whatever. So you don't know if it could be, it could not be, it's translucent. It's definitely, there's some self there, but it could be that it's mamash kula kodesh. But then look at the guy in the McDonald's eating a cheeseburger. There's no heta for that. That's completely concealing shame. In fact, all you're seeing is a man eating a cheeseburger to the exclusion of the Rabbanu Shalom mamash. That's opaque. That's like a brick wall. With me?
But I mean, like there's the machshava dibur ma'isa. Somebody's going to film, but they're thinking averis. So the machshava is is opaque. Their ma'isa is translucent.
The ma'isa should be putting on tefillin is
so it's
a
not their
mitzvah.
goof, it's not their physical body.
there's two things going on.
Yes.
And there's a lot more things. It gets very complicated if you really think about it. Yeah, I can't answer any of these. What usually happens when I give this share is that people start asking me all these different, and I have no idea, like Lemaisa, how it works. No idea, zero. I can tell you the ideas that I've learned, the klalim, but when you're doing a mitzvah, it's comprised of, it's over a whole bunch of time. You have good kavanas. A guy walks past, you're like, I hope he sees me doing this, and then he's gone, and you're back to Hashem, and it's like, it's endlessly complicated. So I don't know. I have no idea how it actually works on Nisa, but you don't need to know that. It's just to understand how reality works, as opposed to Lemaisa. It's different. That's helpful. But our job is to be transparent in everything. That's why people say, the idea of I'm being transparent. Like, was it Elon Musk was saying that? You saw that thing with him in Trump's office last night? Yeah. And he said, we're being transparent. And he said, that's a holy word. Yeah? Is it as opposed to, they were covering it up? They were covering up. That's mama's treif. Yeah? But we're being transparent is very holy. Transparency is a great, in all your relationships. I feel like this. It should be that your wife should be absolutely allowed to go through your email and your WhatsApp and everything. There should be absolutely no feeling of, that's how it should be. That's how it should be. There should be nothing in your life. If there is something that you're worried about your wife seeing, even if it's a small thing in your email or in your WhatsApp and your text or whatever it is, then you're hurting yourself.
Well, if you're planning a surprise.
Okay. say that. But if there's anything, I'll tell you what I did the other day. It's funny because I said this last night. It's just an interesting thing. It's a very good, because this is just healthy. You should have nothing. You should not have any problem whatsoever with anyone going through your email, through your WhatsApp, through your drawers, through anything. That's really how it should be. Nothing at all to hide. That's where we want to get to. Nothing at all to hide, yeah? And if you get there, you're like, that's really a nice place to be.
It's real.
Really a nice place to be. It's so healthy. Everyone knows that. So just to finish, I just said a nice story that happened this week. Was it this week or last week? A lady that I have known for many years just got remarried. I was a ben bias in her house as a bocha, and she got divorced 6 years ago. Something. It's been very hard for her. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman, and I've worked with her. Our jobs kind of coincide a little bit with each other. Our professions coincide with each other a little bit, and in a sense, I feel very close to her. But I'm very covered dick. I'd never call her by her first name, and she doesn't call me by first name. We don't have anything. We don't speak any extra words to each other. But I was like she was like a mother to me a little bit in a sense when I was a bocha. So she's getting remarried. I'm not going to go to the weddings. I have no idea who the chassan is. I'm not going to. It wasn't right. I just couldn't. I just had to say like a big mazel tov. But it's not sneers. It's like I was saying last night in this year that your goal with every other woman in the world, other than your wife and your daughters and your mother, whatever, your sisters, is to create as much distance as possible. Yeah. Creating kirva with your wife and creating richuk from other women is the exact same thing. Yeah, so if you're not going to create richuk from other women, at least don't create any kirva. Yeah, if you're not going to actually push them away, yeah, definitely don't pull them towards. Yeah, but you should really. The Shulchan Aruch says you should be ma'oid, misrachek from nashim ma'oid. It says ma'oid twice. Very, very important. The Shulchan Aruch says that. Shulchan Aruch says that. Yeah. What? No, that needs a perish. That is it, because you need to be miskay of your wife. But the same inyan. If you're miskay of your wife deeply, then you're misrachik nashim acherim chayrus. The same. Your Shabbos table.
I think the idea of that is don't waste conversation with your wife. So really, it's the same idea. If you're going to be miskara with your wife, the conversation is going to be complicated.
Bring her close.
If you're going to have a wasteful conversation, you're actually being misrad with yourself and your wife.
Yeah, but that meaning that wasteful conversation could be like just allowing her to, whatever. So there's a lot of ways. There's also don't speak too much to your wife means if you're speaking too much, that means you're not letting her speak.
That's
going to cause Gehenna.
And one last say
My friend Tanya Hennis said that. That's a very beautiful.
That's also good.
Very beautiful. Anyway, but so I sent this. I wanted to send this lady an email to say Mazel Tov, but I'm like really conscious. It's not the right thing to do. So what did I do? Is I CC my wife on the
You
email.
did an airplane
right.
Skyray.
Yeah, bought her cake, balloons, everything. No, so I CC my wife, and I said so. I wanted just to include my wife in this, and we just wanted to wish you a hearty Mazel Tov and say, whatever. But that's how it should be when you have women at your Shabbos table. Yeah, be very careful to not engage in especially in front of your wife. I mean, any time, but it will do you untold damage. It will do the relationship untold damage, and it will do the relationship untold tov. Yeah, when you refer to other ladies as Mrs. So and so, and you try and make it's weird if you've already been calling her by a name, but you shouldn't call another one by a name. You should be trying to consciously make a separation between yourself and another. And that's a very, very important part of Yiddishkeit. But that's what I'm saying. That then when your whole world becomes transparent, meaning look through my email, look through my WhatsApp, I've got absolutely nothing to hide. Yeah, that's mamash toichoi kaboiroi, and you're living the dream. That's good living the dream. You should be zocheh as well.